Listen, let's move on to the co-main event. And this could be a main event all in and of itself, man. I'm really excited for this bout. So we got number 2 ranked Cory Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar, ranked at number 4 in the bantamweight division. And this is ultimately a title eliminator. Maybe for one of the fighters more than the other, but nonetheless, this is pretty much a title eliminator, right? So first and foremost, man, Cory Sandhagen, this dude has elite distant management and head movement. I've talked about those a couple times tonight, but this dude has really elite versions of that. He's not quite a master yet, but he's damn near there. He's just about there, right? So, however, in his fight against Marlon Moraes, where he won with a second round spinning roundhouse knockout kick, beautiful. Listen, he did get caught quite a few times trying to close the distance. And when Moraes would blitz forward, he did the same thing that I was just talking about for, putting his chin back, head in the air, walking back in a straight line. The same exact thing that I just talked about for Beneil Dariush, right? So, do you think Frankie Edgar at this stage in the game, man, this is OG, big-time veteran Frankie Edgar, does he have enough pop on his shots to capitalize on those mistakes and to put, Cory Sandhagen out? I do want to just say the last part of this question is Frankie Edgar said it himself in his interview with on the Real Quick with Mike Swick podcast. He needs a finish if he expects another shot at the bantamweight title. What do you think?
I agree entirely. He does need a finish because Frankie Edgar, 39 years old. I mean, we've been talking about this dude for I can't tell you how many years. He's been in the limelight for that many years, and he really likes he has a very exciting fight style where he likes to touch, move, and then get on the inside, take you down. He's very well-rounded and can do it in any sort of way. Now, does he have the pop to finish Sandhagen? The time will tell because, man, he is a very small guy at 5'6" and packs a lot of pressure. And we saw that Sandhagen, he can get touched up like he did in the Moraes fight, but he carries a pretty good chin.
Yeah.
So we'll see if Frankie Edgar can actually get that pop, get that knockout win. I don't necessarily know if now the old school Frankie Edgar has it, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
No, I'm with you, man. And that's kind of like in the same boat that I'm in, is that it's like, listen, man, all right, let's play a game real quick. When's the last time, I don't want you to look at no notes or nothing. If you had to guess, when's the last time Frankie Edgar finished a fight in the UFC?
I'd probably say 3 or 4 fights, maybe even 2 years ago. Not looking at my notes.
You're close. 2017. It's 2017 versus Yair Rodriguez, where it wasn't a real finish. It was a doctor's stoppage, actually. But I believe he had a finish in the fight, 2 fights before that against Chad Mendez or something like that back in like 2016 or whatever. The point is, it's been a long time, man, since this man has gotten a finish. And like, no disrespect. I mean, listen, let's look at who Frankie Edgar has fought, man. Pedro Munoz, split decision win. Korean Zombie, loss. Max Holloway for the championship, loss. Cub Swanson, win. Brian Ortega, where he got uppercutted off of his feet in a knockout loss, which was pretty tough. So 2-3-0 in his last 5 with a 1 title fight. That is not bad for a 39-year-old, a dude who is, listen, fighting out of Ricardo Almeida's jiu-jitsu gym, man. You know what I'm saying? There's 6 knockouts, 4 subs. Frankie Edgar, I just want to say this because I think he's being overlooked right now because he's old man Frankie Edgar. He has nothing to play around with. You mess around with this dude, and you're going to be in a tough spot. And Frankie Edgar has seen everything there is to see. He's done everything there is to do. This is going to be a tough test for Cory Sandhagen regardless. So I hope he's not taking him lightly. But the next point that I have is I really believe that Frankie Edgar's best chance of winning this bout, like his true best chance, is taking the Aljamain Sterling approach. Not putting the backpack on him and just tapping him out in a minute, not that, but blitz him from the get-go, bell to bell, non-stop pressure, his back against the fence, his not knowing kind of where to go and whatnot. And the reason why is because of Cory Sandhagen. What he's doing the entire time is he's standing back at distance, he's measuring. All right, where you are? Okay, I did that. You're going to, okay. All right, sounds good. And he's doing all of that, just taking all of these mental notes, kind of like a John Jones or a Floyd Mayweather, right? Taking all these notes, and he's a big proponent of the flow state. That's a big thing Cory Sandhagen talks about, right? So if his timing is disrupted and he can't get into the flow of his offense, that's taking away his main strength. So I really believe that is the best plan that Frankie Edgar could utilize, and the takedowns too, but you watch out because Cory Sandhagen has great submissions off of his back. But ultimately, like I said, the flow and all that is a big part of his offensive game. Now, I mean, what do you think, though? That's not really Frankie Edgar's game. Not necessarily. So, like, what do you think? Yeah.
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily his game, but fights are like they say, I forgot the exact term, but fights are based off of matchmaking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the skill of each fighter determines each. So no fight is the same. Frankie Edgar, that may not be his style, but it could be his style because he sees that against a tactician, the best way to defeat a tactician is just throw volume, throw heavy hits, make them get out of that flow state that you're talking about so you don't end up like who's the fighter against Max Holloway where he was ducking and dodging? We just watched it.
Calvin Kattar.
Calvin Kattar, exactly. And Calvin Cater's a good boxer and he knows how to get in there dirty, but you saw when you're in that state, nothing can touch you. Now, except Frankie Edgar needs to get inside, get on the inside, do a little dirty boxing and disrupt that pace and that distance to actually make a difference on Cory Sandhagen. That's actually what I was writing down, is he needs to get inside. Yeah. That's the biggest vantage point vantage point to winning that I see Frankie Edgar having, is getting inside and using that old school dog mentality that he's been built in since he's been fighting to actually get the dub in, instead of this nice guy touch you up a little bit Frankie Edgar that we've seen in the past. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah.
No, that's how I feel. Like I said, I think that I don't know if he'll be able to do it. You know what I mean? But I do think the dirty boxing is the key to winning this fight. The clinch work, trying to get a takedown. But like I said, you got to be really careful because Sandhagen will submit you. You know what I mean? Because right now, let's see. Sandhagen has 3 submissions. He's been submitted once. Frankie Edgar, 4 submissions, never been submitted. You know what I mean? So he's got great submission defense, but still, you got to be careful. Now, ultimately, with wins for Cory Sandhagen, with wins against Marlon Moraes, Rafael Assunção, John Lineker, Austin Arnett under his belt, what does a decisive win against Frankie Edgar do for his legacy in the modern generation of bantamweight fighters, man? That's a resume if I've seen one.
You're saying a win for Frankie Edgar?
No, a win for Cory Sandhagen, along with those other names that I just named. He already got those under his belt. So a win against Frankie Edgar, that's like you just took down a legend. That's like Uriah Hall beat Anderson Silva. Regardless of where he was at in his career, that's a legendary name on your record.
I don't necessarily think Cory Sandhagen gains much of anything from beating Frankie Edgar. He beats him, and everyone's like, yeah, you beat up a 30-year-old Frankie Edgar. You should have. Like, we know, bro. We know. Now he has a lot to lose. I think Frankie Edgar has a lot more to gain from this fight. Now, that being said, Cory Sandhagen does have a lot to gain from the fact of beating a legend, an absolute legend, like I said, a dog in Frankie Edgar. But in the rankings and necessarily going forward in the future for prosperity and longevity in the fight game, I don't necessarily know that this adds anything to Sandhagen's name. I mean, you got Aljo fighting for the championship against Peter Yan, and then basically Cory Sandhagen and who after that. So he's just kind of waiting and kind of playing games, and that's, I think, why he's taking a big name fight and not necessarily what would be considered a hard fight, even though Frankie Edgar is number 4.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, all right, let's get to it, man. Who's your pick and why?
I got Sandhagen by decision, just because I think he's not going to be able to put away Frankie Edgar, and I don't know if Frankie can put him away either. So I think they're going to give it to, at the end of the day, Sandhagen by decision. Who you got?
I'm going Cory Sandhagen, and I'm going with a knockout. And the reason why is because in Frankie Edgar's last 3 losses, he has been finished in all 3 of those fights. So listen, man, it's the snowball effect. Momentum is a crazy thing, and when it's going good, it goes really great. But when it's going bad, it tends to go really, really bad for a lot of people. So that's my pick, man.